two things are done. One, there is evidence of prosecution of those who did that, especially, and he is saying that because, look, there's a video out there. How difficult can it be to arrest
find
people?
them, And they were witnesses. It happened in broad daylight. It was not like in the middle of the night.
According to the police, they arrested 4 people, and then they called the staff of the Tamale Teaching Hospital to come and identify them. But then I don't know whether the people did not show up or whatever. But I think beyond that, there is a video out there. There are many videos on social media that, I repeat, the police can use same to arrest. And you see, I support the doctors to an extent because they said they are still not coming back until 2 things are done. One, they want evidence of prosecution. You know, prosecution actually is an entire process. So, you know, the committal proceedings and everything, if it's going to be an indictment. And also there's the issue of there's the issue of if it's a summary.
It's necessary, right?
I think the written apology, I think he's stretching it a bit.
I don't think so.
I think he's stretching it a bit.
It's important. This isn't the first time this has happened. It keeps happening. It sounds as though people in the community are afraid of these guys because they think they're untouchable. So even if they are arrested, it's just ceremonial. Let's arrest you so that, you know, the rest of Ghana will think everything is fine. And then once the news dies down, we'll just, you know, bring you back in. So at a point too, they're also trying to protect themselves because
a written apology does not protect you.
Well, what it does is at least it validates that you did something wrong.
You see, that's the problem. Then it should there's call for prosecution, which is in good taste. Let the people be arrested. So if the people are arrested and they plead not guilty, how is somebody pleading not guilty going to write a written apology or something? Why shouldn't they plead not guilty? Not innocent until proven guilty.
So if you're arrested and you're prosecuted and you're found guilty, I think the rightful thing to do is to apologize. You shouldn't even wait for them to request it for you. Okay, what's the rightful thing to do? According
to Act 30, is that a specific punishment befitting of that offense be handed down.
Yes.
I have not seen, reading the whole of Act 13, a single punishment being apology.
Yes. So what I'm coming, I don't think he tackled this from the perspective of the law. Right? We are community driven by morals and ethics.
Well,
at their age, you're a young person. You are now depriving thousands, if hundreds, if not thousands of people of their basic to life. Imagine the lives that are being lost right now because nurses and doctors have decided not to work. So I think we shouldn't just limit this issue to just the CEO or the young men. This is a national crisis.
It's a national crisis.
Our youth to think they have the audacity to deprive patients of health services.
Yes, you should look at it from one. Let's start from one and then we get to 2. When the people did that, it was an unlawful act. Their acts were not supported in law. In the same way, you asking for an apology has no basis. You are saying that unless they apologize, you are not going to resume services, which is a problem. If they are going to be prosecuted, so imagine they are prosecuted and they are sentenced to, let's say, 3 years imprisonment. Are you still going to insist on an apology before you go back to work?
We rarely heard people bailing out these young men when they are arrested, for example. Right? So clearly, we've not done enough to the regular citizens of Ghana the confidence that this will not happen again.
I agree with you on that, but I'm saying that an apology would also not stop this from happening again. If they are I think that they should be prosecuted and the harshest punishment, because whoever is at the helm of the judiciary in respect should bear in mind that, you know what, this is not just an act of indiscipline. It's an act that created a rippling effect on the entire nation, or at least on the 4 upper regions. So,
and I mean, it's a nation because any of us could have ended up in these regions.
Super.
And so, right now we can't see a doctor or a nurse.
So the intensity of the punishment should be enough to deter people from doing such a thing again. And I think once that is done, things will just get better. The need for the apology and everything is not necessary because whoever is lawyer for the accused people will just say that, look, this apology, make sure you do not write. You are going to plead not guilty. There is no need to write an apology because that in itself is a confession. Indirectly, it's a confession. So after the apology, we are just humbly asking the doctors that let's move our minds from apology. Some young men have done something which is wrong in law. Let us look at it being wrong in law. Let us punish them to the harshest possible point to deter others. This is not. There are instances where punishment sometimes is used to correct individuals, and sometimes it's used to details and other individuals. This particular one, to correct the individual being the motive of the punishment, would not be in the best taste, because the whole of Ghana is watching. We are in a situation where we're in a situation where there's vigilantism. Even at the same hospital, 2017 February, there was a similar incident. So where these young men just get up, where subsequent acts of vigilantism, the judges will just look at, you know what, in the previous case, the people were given, let's say, 3 years or 2 years imprisonment. So I would even give you 2.5 years imprisonment to further deter other people, and not even to reduce the sentence, as it may encourage other people. So at this point, I'm just humbly saying that Dr. Michael Damar and the good doctors of the Tamale are doing fantastically well. They should just remove the apology for a bit, the call for apology, and then they should focus on getting these people arrested. That is true. And he made a fantastic point that, look, they were not excited about the arrest of the 4 individuals because they know for a fact, and once or twice to the best of their knowledge in other instances.
It's the 5th or 6th time happening,
yes.
So.
Yes, and they know for a fact that when people are arrested, the people are just let go. They arrest them for show, and then the people are just let go. And true to his words, according to him, at 8 p.m., the doctors were going to resume services last night. The doctors and the nurses had planned to resume services. But then before that 8 p.m., they were reliably so informed that the people had been released. So to them, it was just a comical thing, where you just find some 4 people somewhere, and then you put them behind bars, and then you say, we don't have evidence. What evidence again? If those 4 people were not in the video, on what basis were they arrested? The police should come out and tell us. If you arrested them based on the video, why then were they released? And these people, according to the reports, it's not like they were released on bail. If you are released on bail, then we know that subsequently and then prosecuted, the trial would continue. But then you release them because you do not have evidence against them. It means they've been totally discharged.
But all that being said, I think we should look at the larger community, right? So we've failed as a nation if the next generation of our leaders think that it's okay. Right, so these are people who claim to be part of a political party. You would assume they will have some level of integrity, respect for authority, if not anything at all, just respect for due process, right? I mean, I can cite examples of, if we look at even the US, for example, we had Black Panthers, young individuals, young men who uplifted their communities and said, these things are wrong in the community. We are going to clean the community. We're going to demand community centers. And if the government is not going to provide it for us, we're going to provide it ourselves. So we're going to uplift our communities. So when you see young men involved in political activism to lead, you know,
to do positive things.
Do positive things, inspire the next generation, the 10 and 12-year-olds out there to be like, once I'm 14, once I'm 16, once I'm 18, I could do these same things. I can actually help. We read, I think last week, Patapa, cleaning a community, certain things that young men should be doing, especially young men who are part of a political party. So it's really sad, and it's really shameful to have to talk about this, that a young group of people who are part of a political party or claim to be part of a political party can go to a hospital and tell the thief. I mean, the audacity. How do you, most of us can't even stand in front of our parents and do that. To go to that extent shows us Ghanaians that these guys think they are untouchable. And the fact that after they did it, there was no arrest in people. Even the police themselves said that sometimes when these guys are arrested, nobody comes out to say that I'm a witness, I saw this, because they are afraid that these guys are protected. So if I go speak up against them, you know, I might actually be the bad person in the community. So it's shameful, it's sad, it's disgusting that we are rascals get away with it.
Well, Dr. David Akobila, I know him to be a fantastic doctor and respected by many who worked under him. At least I know when he was lecturing at the Tamale Teaching Hospital, I know many of his students really admired him. So for all these allegations to be made against him, it's quite sad. It's quite sad. But then also, there was also the wife of a vice president, donations to the Tamale Teaching Hospital, and these donations were also by way of, or amongst the donations, the consumables included needles and syringes and the likes.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I interviewed her on that a couple of months back on her work.
Yeah. So then I'm wondering exactly the veracity that, or the allegations made against the CEO of the teaching hospital, Tamale Teaching Hospital, that coincidental that these donations were made. These things that, according to the press release by these young men who did that, there were no syringes or needles and the likes.
And they even say he was corrupt. So even if you're saying all these things, as a member, you know how things are done. They could have been the heroes in this story if they had done the right thing. Right, because you've made allegations. That means you're actually paying attention to what's going on in the hospital. It says that perhaps people are not doing their job, especially maybe even to go to the extent of saying the CEO might not be doing his job. You can actually write all these things down and say, okay, these are the things we've noticed. We want the authorities to do something about it, because these people came to our community to serve the community. I mean, I see them as voices of the community. So there's absolutely no reason why they should have just taken their time, gone to the right places, met the right people to say, these are our concerns, investigate, and give us your response. I mean, let's learn from even the traders. When the traders had an issue with foreigners in the market, they went to Guta and said, Guta, do something about this. Guta went to Ministry of Trade. Ministry of Trade tried to do something. It was until Ministry of Trade said something that didn't really, as if they have the best interest of Ghanaian traders at heart. That's when they started to react. But you don't start out by just reacting. Even them reacting, we called them out and said it was wrong. Guta has come out to say this is wrong. And to be fair, they at least followed due process and then messed up in the way. These young men, they became the judge, the police, everything, and that's not how it is in a lawless society.
Their claims are clearly unfounded, because you have the people who are working with the tools that you're saying are non-existent. These same people have rebelled against you for your action. You know, they strike.
Well, accusing me of not having syringes and gloves is completely different from putting my life at risk, like me fearing that you will come kill me in the middle of the night because you think you can get away with it. So even if I empathize with you and I was happy that you pointed this out in the beginning, the way you went about it will put fear in everyone else around.
So bottom line is, I'm still putting the whole burden on the police, as it should rightly be so. There are some. Yesterday, Sam George was here, did say clearly that, you know what, politicians do pay lip service to come in the media and arrest. We are calling on the security agencies, we are calling on the police to arrest them, but then behind closed doors, they will say, these are my boys, these are my boys. So right now, it's the police that overtly the burden has been placed on them. These politicians who may or may not be telling you these are my boys, they are the same people who have come in the media to tell the whole world that we are calling on you, we are calling on you. So if you are unable to do anything, especially, you see, the police do not have an excuse in this case because of the presence of video. Because of the presence of video. And I'm surprised that the health ministry is silent, to the best of my knowledge, in respect of this. You know, I'm surprised that the interior ministry is silent, because it does not makes sense to me at this point that there is a video out there and it's been 48 or almost 72 hours down the line, you are unable to even effect a single evidentiary arrest, if I should put it that way, because you are saying you don't have evidence, so you have to let the people go. You know, we need to take a step back and say, what exactly are the police doing?
Beyond the police, I think it's high time we name politicians who protect these boys. Because if I'm a policeman and I go arrest them, and you, the politician, you know, you brush it on the side, you're actually undermining my authority. And this is what we are seeing, that some policemen, what's the sense of our security if a politician can just come and override the decision of the police? So we're growing this norm of naming and shaming. If these young men are bored because there's not an election and they don't have anything to do, find something productive for them to do in the community. They can clean up the community. There's so many things you can do to uplift the community if you find yourself bored and out of things, because obviously they are productive when it comes time for elections to help these politicians gain whatever votes they need to get. So I think we need to, beyond holding the police accountable, we also need to empower the police and give them some sort of
independence,
confidence that they can name shame a politician and still keep their jobs.
They should.
Until we're able to do that, hold them accountable.
So far, the person in authority that I can maybe confidently say can name and shame, irrespective of which who he's serving under, I think would be the special prosecutor, who is for instance, you know, allegations that, or he did say, which has not been refuted, that, you know, they are letting an individual, a member of parliament, is letting pastors and imams come to beg on his behalf. You know, that naming and shame is very, very important. But still, at this point, the burden is on the police. We are looking at you. The whole of Ghana is looking at you, and every second you refuse to act on the videos which we know you have seen. If you haven't seen, and it's quite shocking to me. Every second you particular video is a second that an innocent patient is not getting treatment. So let us be up and doing and do what's next to be done.
Let's also start the norm of naming and shaming politicians who protect these young men, because they are a threat to our security, they are a threat to our peace and our safety, they are a threat to our lives. If people aren't able to access basic health care because of a few young men. So anyone who protects also be an enemy. In my eyes, you don't protect people who are doing the wrong thing. You let them,
the
you
IGP
hold them
should
responsible
also
for their actions.
The IGP should also speak on this, because the people working under you are not able to arrest people seen in a video. And it's not like the people live in the same community, they are seen in a video and still not arrested. The IGP should speak on this. If the police departments over there are not able to do their, send them to peacekeeping. Something. And let the right police officers do the good
handle the job. But you guys let us know your thoughts on this. We are talking about the incident that happened at the Tamale Teaching Hospital a couple of days ago. Yesterday we heard 4 men or boys were arrested, and then later. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know with the hashtag Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line
0550 585 832.
News review is not anywhere. We'll be right back.
Live music, poetry, and more with your favorite personalities. Be our guest on Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. for the most exciting on TV. Join Kojo Akoto Boateng for real entertainment right in your living room. Saturday Live on City TV and City 97.3 FM.
Good morning, Ghana. Good morning, world. You're in tune to the Breakfast Daily on City TV. Stonebwoy says so. Keep it locked. Don't log off. Boom.
They say, why you they love them like this? Oh, I don't know. Hi, everyone. It's Miss V. Make sure you keep watching Breakfast Daily on City TV. Don't go anywhere. Tiptoe. Swag.
Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily. Thank you so much. Thus, we're just going to jump right into our news review, starting with the Daily Graphic.
Well, the Daily Graphic says here that 13 e-blocks come on board 2018-2019 academic year. The full story is on page
$1.5 billion. That story is on page 16.
For not mapping targets. That's what we have on the front page of the Business Finder this morning. Also, BOG
and ignore finally, BOG equally guilty in bank's collapse. That's coming from Sam George, and I think he said that on our show yesterday.
Okay. We will introduce our guest for today. Remember that you can join us with the hashtag. So joined by, with our first story, Daily Graphic Page 3 has this. We will go after bank fraudsters, government. Now the story reads, the government has given a firm indication of its preparedness to hold persons involved in the unethical and criminal conduct in the banking sector to book. And this will be in addition to that another department has been set up in the Bank of Ghana to investigate internal
and sit back. Other microfinance institutions had to be closed down, and you allow it to run all resolved.
Bank of Ghana is now there.
Well, fortunately, you will have the chance to ask those questions because it's coming.
Absolutely.
And there's a story here in the Business and Financial Times that says Parliament summons BOG and Ministry of Finance in a 3-day probe into the banks. It's beginning on September 5th. And people are asking, why aren't we probing them now?
Yeah, my good friend, lawyer, was very forthright when he started and said the government of the day. Then he narrowed down of the government of yesterday. And I was
these
so
are legacy
surprised.
issues.
When you
These
talk
are
about
purely legacy matters.
I do agree with him 100%. It is the reason why this same government, under this same government, under this same governor, permission was given, licenses were given to banks, taken away right now.
Not true.
The same sovereign banks and
true, yeah.
It is not.
the same bank, the same government. So when he said the government of the day, I was even afraid of him because I know that he's an MPP man, and the people will say, hey, he's attacking our government. These same people, they gave license to the same banks. I didn't want to mention it because I didn't want to go political. But he has brought himself. Same people, they brought it up in 2014 that these things are happening. They brought it out. They even clamped down some financial institutions. It was a lead for the new Bank of Ghana to take over and make sure the right thing was done. He repeated the same patterns. I think that people in his head are not too wrong, because unless he is influenced by the ministry, his man comes to say, we are coming to protect the private sector. And you start by destroying the basis of the private sector because you have a supervisory instrument, Bank of Ghana, that cannot supervise effectively businesses to collapse the way they are collapsing. So I think that you should sit up as a government. It's important because
my question to you,
let's deal with this.
Yes, respectfully. When the Cash for Seat saga happened, we brought Parliament back and we addressed it.
Yes.
Now we have a crisis and we're waiting till September. Why aren't we addressing these issues now?
The major reason being that Parliament is on risk. I think that the indication that we want to do it shows that we may take some critical action, some emergency. There's likely to be a recall from Parliament because this is a very important issue. And when the recall happens, if Parliament is not constituted, you can't refer something for investigation.
Okay.
It has to be constituted. It has to be laid, becomes the possession of Parliament, and then we can begin the investigation process.
Now, I don't politicize this topic because it's a big issue.
Yes,
just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Ameri and the country losing over $1 billion cedis to it. And these are individuals who have
lost any.
Yes, we haven't lost anything. We were going to, right?
We're not going to lose $1 billion to anybody.
So these are 7 banks, right, those who have done wrong by the country, and we're going to pay for it. Are we angry enough? Are we actually holding them accountable?
Absolutely. And I'm extremely angry. That is why I said that we should go to the roots of the problem. Look, there is some erroneous impression out there, funded by the NDC, to suggest that because the final license that was issued to Construction Bank was given in 2017 is part of a problem. No, that's not true. The provisional license that was given to Construction Bank was actually given by the NDC government. Okay? Now, look at the process, your management, branch network, and all those kinds of things. At which point, when the Bank of Ghana inspects and is satisfied that you are ready to commence business, that they issue you with the final license. So, it cannot be that the is culpable in the allocation of that license under any circumstances. Let's get it straight. The spinning is not going to help.
So one of the requirements of requiring the license is to provide documentation that you do have the minimum requirements.
Absolutely, and that's done before you are given the provisional license. Absolutely.
Yes, so
at the stage of the
it's surprising.
It is only inspection of banks management and other minor things that are looked at before your final license is issued.
Do you know what they call due process?
Okay.
Due process does not end until a final decision, and then you issue a license. Then you want to absolve yourself. What kind of thinking and argument is that? I think we should not argue on the political lines.
No,
we are saddled with a challenge, and I think that we should address the challenge because the people of Ghana are suffering. Money is becoming an issue. Cost of money is becoming a suspect because the processes by which we get to borrow money itself is now being attacked by fraud, perpetuation of fraud and sleaze. So I think that we should come together and solve
Lawyer Mensah, the fact that is the Bank of Ghana setting up this office to investigate itself, do you find that proper?
Well, it is, but it's not far-reaching enough. I suspect that it's an internal inquiry to, as it were, get to identify officials within who were culpable, you know, if they were. I mean, we've heard in the news media that some officials actually connived with some of these bank officials to some information from being, you know, disclosed. If that is indeed the case, then of course those persons who are involved cannot be left to go scot-free at all.
Okay.
Interesting.
So beyond this, and of course it's, you know, the statement itself that was released clearly is under appropriate law.
Okay, so we have some messages that I want us to touch on briefly. So Yao Osankide from Taifa says the banking superintendent of the BOG they've done everything possible for all banking systems in the country, but out of selfishness, incompetence, mediocrity, and corruption on the part of some board members and prominent workers of the banks, they've caused some banks to collapse. The authorities should deal with the perpetrators drastically with the content they deserve. So he's saying that
contempt
yes, contempt they deserve. It says content they deserve. So are we actually holding these individuals accountable?
I think the Ghanaians are very angry. He said he's angry, and I think that it epitomizes the anger of the Ghanaian that is supposed to be used for some other purposes have been advanced to these banks, knowing the danger, the challenge they face. I told you this was recognized, and then, you know, they thought that, look, private sector must not be allowed to sink that low because money is being held on behalf of people. So then itself is questionable. But after having done it, it was important for them to take judicial notice and be able to utilize the money the way to sustain their banks. They rather took the money and put it in other businesses, bought cars, bought the houses, and then you begin to question, what is it that the Ghanaian is thinking about? Money meant for public use, you are using it for your personal gain. So it's important that it should evoke the kind of anger is bringing forth, so that we can tackle it once and for all, so that in future, if anybody falls in that trap, you know that it's a deliberate thing that you are doing, and that the consequence of it is going to be on your head, so that we know people can be deterred. It's painful that Ghanaians cannot be honest. People borrow money from banks. They don't want to pay.
That's the question.
And then it's all over. It's all over. Go to all these banks. People have borrowed money. They don't want to pay. You do whatever they want to do. Seize their house. In a case like that 2 years ago, you know, the fellow told me he was hurt, and then they don't know where to find them again. So we need to be honest ourselves, so that we can help the banks. But the banks workers themselves must be honest, so that we can rely on them.
So Honorable, on a macro level, what does this mean for local businesses? Because on the one hand, we want to promote local content. We're saying Ghana Beyond Aid rely on strong institutions, strong local institutions. But if we're losing hope in the way we run our businesses, not just the board members or the executives or the CEOs, but even the customers, right? When you go to a foreign bank, the way you engage them is different from the way you
consolidate and the 5 banks, and also getting Ghana Commercial Bank to take over UT and Capital Bank. Essentially, it's generating a rather robust economy. And for me, the most important thing is that ordinary Ghanaians' monies have not been lost. People, they are
depositors, especially.
Absolutely, depositors. Very well managed Ghanaian banks. I mean, I am a strict adherent of Ghanaian Bank. That's the only place that I bank. So I think that going forward, having consolidated some of these banks and ensuring that steps are being taken to improve their corporate governance structures, there's hope for the private sector to still access facilities from banks that are strong, particularly strong banks. Bureau of Ghana itself, in its quest to enhance the capacity of our banks, increasingly, over the period, have indicated that banks were to increase their stated capital to a certain level by December 2018, right? That is on course, and many of the banks have already submitted their plans, capitalization plans to the Bank of Ghana, and that's being worked on. These, like I said, the 7 had major problems that were essentially legacy issues that needed to be dealt with. And so going forward, with the banks getting stronger, with the consolidation, with the increased capitalization that is coming on stream, they'll be able to fund many big ticket transactions for the private sector to enable them contribute meaningfully to the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda.
Okay, so we shall be going for a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be talking about a story in page 16 of the Daily Graphic. Says we won't compromise our sovereignty over GFA impasse, and this coming from Information Minister. We'll take a look at that statement strongly in respect of the letter sent from FIFA to Ghana. But, you have to remove the case from court, more or less, to liquidate the Ghana Football Association. So we'll go for a quick break now. Breakfast Daily continues.
Welcome to another day, another week, and of course another episode of 30 Minutes. We're excited and we will be finding conversations.
Spend 30 minutes every weekday catching up with all the trending social media conversations of the day. If you tweet it, we'll read it. We might just even Skype you.
Shatta, why are you being so raw and hard like that? But at the particular time, that's what I wanted to do it. But that doesn't mean you are my enemy. We can still meet again and Shatta, this time we are about to do, don't come and do that nonsense. Okay, please, I won't do it. And we'll give respect to each other. But sometimes I feel, when we are all humans. When somebody says something about me, Shatta, hey, no, I might want to say something. Yeah. So, but when I say it, people shouldn't take it like taking things, personal. It's showbiz now, and I really want to work on it.
30 minutes is all it takes, so use the hashtag 30minutes on social media to catch our attention. Join the most interactive social media TV show weekdays at 5 p.m. only on City TV.
Wherever the weekend sporting action happened, we will bring it to you here. Every goal, every dunk, every punch, the winning strides, and the winning volleys.
International media, he said, look, wait, sit and wait. Let me have a meal with my people. And I think that's the same cool, it's the same organization he brings to the field every time I've seen him play. He looks to me like somebody who's played over 50 caps already. Okay. But this guy has barely played over 25 caps for the national team.
All of the weekend's action in one place. Scorecard every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. prompt on City TV.
Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, before the break, we were discussing the issues with the banks, and Parliament's move to finally probe into the BOG and Ministry of Finance what went wrong. So we're going to continue with the
Parliament intends to use 3 days.
Yes,
I'm wondering whether 3 days would actually be enough.
September 5th. Yeah, I'm wondering why September 5th as well, but I guess
anyway, now our next story that we're going to look at has to do with football, and I'm reading from page 16 this morning of the Daily Graphic. It says the government has reiterated its commitment not to compromise on the sovereignty of the nation when its 3-member team meets with officials of FIFA at its headquarters in Zurich today to deliberate on the best means to resolve an impasse over perceived government interference in the running of the Ghana Football Association. So that's what we have here in respect of this report. So I'll start with you, Lawyer Mensah, Honorable, on this particular story.
Yes, of course, absolutely. We are not going to compromise on our sovereignty at all. So it's exciting for me that the statement that was issued by the Information Minister designate clearly said that we're going to engage, and the fury that it created amongst the generality of the Ghanaian people. And subsequently, government action. The executives were removed and some government appointees were put there. Government went to court, in accordance with our laws, to, as it were,
liquidate a company.
Absolutely. And that is consistent with the provisions of the act that under which government went. Of course, FIFA, is always protective of its associations, and I recall that initially they were, agreeable to the position that government had taken to, as it were, get the football fraternity cleaned up. They themselves have consistently stated countenance corruption in football. So the state investigative apparatus is investigating their crimes. But to sanitize the football space, government took the position that this was where we wanted to go. Liquidate the existing GFA as it is. Of course, take steps to incorporate another entity to run football in Ghana. FIFA has issues with it, and they've made it known through the letter that they wrote to government, and have accepted government's request to meet with them to try and discuss the issues and come to some common understanding. And so I expect that by the time the delegation returns back from Zurich, we will know where it is that we're going. If the consensus that is reached is that the case ought to be withdrawn, well, I think that government will do the needful. If the consensus is that the case ought to continue, but that, whatever, of course, I'm not privy to the nature of the discussions that Minister of Sports.
But you don't consider it a form of embarrassment if we would have to remove the case? I mean, because we may have been a bit hasty in running to court to liquidate.
I don't think so at all. I mean, you and I know the kinds of sentiments that the people of Ghana expressed at the time. And so government needed to do what it had to do, Of course, like I said, let the discussions conclude, with the team that has gone to meet with officials of FIFA. And then when they come back, reevaluate our position and do what we think guard our sovereignty, but also enable us remain within the FIFA fraternity, because football, we are all about football. We want our national teams to continue to participate in FIFA organized tournaments. And so I don't think government will do anything that will jeopardize that. But then again, we are a country, a sovereign state, and so we have to do to ensure that the kind of canker that we all witnessed in the tape, at least from the reports that were broadcast, because I never watched it.
Really?
No, I did not. Saw snippets of it on social media, but I never took time to watch the entire tape. But of course, the commentary has been several, so I think that that said, we will have to wait for the minister come back,
okay,
so that we know the way forward.
Thank you.
Okay.
Honorable.
Yeah, I have a position on this. I had that position when I was Minister for Sports, and I still keep that position. Government must not interfere in fear of dealing with it now, taking the case from court, than a bigger embarrassment that will come. It will come if government insists. There's nothing called in this matter. It's sentimental statements. It's not necessary. Let me tell you, FIFA is a transnational body. It is an international actor. They call them state actors, international state actors, who we submit to because we believe in what they are doing and we approve their regulations and their laws. So you work within them. So if you want to stay along with them, you play according to the rules. If you want to stay outside them, you play outside their rules. If you want to come back later, they will give you plus everything that you said you wouldn't do, plus something else you have to do before you come back in. So zero. In other words, if government says we want to keep our sovereignty, we don't want to badge to FIFA, this, that, yes, okay, go, ban you. Now you've come, what will you do? What will they do? You say you want to investigate. Investigation can go on even without you dissolving GFA. The thing you will want to do is to come back and say that, look, now we have finished. Club owners, league organize, and now have an election so that we can get back to FIFA. FIFA will say, yes, take your hands off. Bring the names. Let us see that the people are independently organizing their own elections. At the end of it, the leadership that emerges will not be influenced by government or anybody at all. And follow the rules of FIFA. Fine for you. You would have wasted so many years or time yourself. You would have wasted time in trying to say you want to assert your sovereignty. To belong to FIFA and to have a GFA belong to FIFA itself has nothing to do with your sovereignty. This is an association, an affiliation with a bigger international body. So I would say that, look, I've heard Kobna Japan, I've heard Adumo Ochre, all of them happen and insisting that government should go on and assert itself. It's unnecessary. They should sit down with FIFA. They should agree on the process, work on the process, and come to a certain conclusion, which will make us both happy. There's nothing called sovereignty when you are working with FIFA or United Nations. You belong to United Nations. You submit to their rules. And then something happens, you say, no, I want my sovereignty. In international law and international organizations, in dealing with international relations, you always lose a bit of your independence, a bit, so that you can belong to it.
So, Honorable, using the United Nations as an example, if we have an ambassador in the UN and we think the structure is not working well, we are part of the General Assembly, right? We can say that, is it okay to say that we're taking a break, we're cleaning the hat, once we come back to the UN, we're taking full advantage of it, everybody's benefiting from it, because now a few people at GFA messed up, but now clubs, referees, players, coaches who were not part of them are going to suffer the consequences. And we can cite the example of Nigeria, right? They cleaned up and then they came back.
Go back to Nigeria. What clean up? They have done nothing. It's the same old people who have come to take over the power. Nigeria is regretting for what they have done. Ghana should not follow that.
But so they are not a good example
of United Nations. Yes. Yeah, so when you step aside, you no longer belong to the United Nations.
And then you can always come back. So
but you would have wasted your time. I'm saying that you can't stay within the United Nations and be against the United Nations. Well, so you leave. And I'm saying you can't stay within FIFA and say you want to take away yourself from FIFA and still want to be recognized by FIFA. Okay. That's why they say when you do that, you go. By the time you come, we would have lost. Look at the matches we are lined up to play. The international matches, international tournaments, we would have lost all of them. You come back, you are several notches away from your competitors.
But isn't this why we are talking to them to find a middle ground?
The middle ground is that let GFA be independent. Let them do. Government shouldn't be a moderator.
So you feel at the meeting, government shouldn't assert their sovereignty?
No, you had nothing. There's nothing called sovereignty in this matter. There's no sovereignty. State organization.
Well, the sovereignty lies in the fact that GFA is a company incorporated under the laws of Ghana. So in respect of saying when the government sees something going wrong, the government has indeed the power to instigate an official liquidation for GFA as a company.
It's not necessary. Look, individuals have committed various crimes or omissions. Take them out, investigate, do what you want to do within your country. If you think that the GFA, the referees have committed some crimes, tackle it. If you think that people who are there have not shown enough commitment to GFA and therefore Ghana football has a problem, deal with it. Leave the GFA alone. Like, I have an association, Old Students Association. Then you government, you go and liquidate station to be alone.
What if it's a culture of the association that must be changed? Because if it's at the top, that means people might be influenced by it.
We have a culture of making people pay for their crimes in this country.
People for crime in respect of this particular
issue.
You can. No, it happened outside the shores of Ghana, and these are not the crimes that fall.
Something related to
you mean the other issues with the referees collecting bribes and the like? Okay, that's fine. I think we'll take a reactionary comment.
Well, I don't think we've gotten to the stage of even discussing a ban. I mean,
we've gotten to the stage. FIFA has fired a letter.
Well,
government yesterday. Maybe you are not aware, has retreated. They are saying that please come, we want to talk with you.
Yeah, that's why they are going to
they're going
to. And I think that is the right way to go. Yeah. In that sense, I commend government. It's the right way to go. Call them back, sit with them.
But don't assert sovereignty issues. That's your position.
It's not necessary. There's no sovereignty issue here.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, when you mentioned sovereignty, I was laughing.
Why?
Because my mind immediately went to the Ghana-US military cooperation agreement.
Really?
Where they made a lot of noise that we were selling our sovereignty.
Oh, but that's different.
It is not.
It's different.
Because you see, in international relations, like he said, we have bilateral relations, we have more. And so, in a bilateral relationship, the one we have with the United States, we can have an arrangement that enables them use our land and facilities to advance their cause.
No, let's not compare the two because this one related to security issues.
I don't have a problem.
Let's not relate.
We don't go in there. It's interesting.
I want to wrap up the discussion on football. So we talk about
like I was saying,
education.
I don't think that we've gotten to the stage where a ban will become an option. Like I said, government has indicated its preparedness to engage with FIFA so that we find a common ground that will not take us there, because that government's position would be for us to suffer any suspension from FIFA. So whatever it takes that would enable us resolve this matter, I'm sure that the minister and his team, when they come back, will give an indication so that we can proceed from there.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll move on to the next headline, which is in the Ghanaian Times. I'm reading from page 16. Education infrastructure challenges. Address the educational infrastructure challenges facing the country. The money will be allocated as follow. We are going to put $500 million into the construction of new facilities to address infrastructure challenges within the senior high school. Another 500 will be allocated to the tertiary education, and the remaining 100 will be moved to the basic education level to address infrastructure challenges. Some people might say, why didn't you wait to address these challenges before you even started the double track system? But let me start with Honorable and then move. Yes,
well, I'm very happy. We are materializing the concept of government as an organic whole. That it is the reason why the Gang of Five Roads, the Achimota Road, the Legon Road, when they started them and they were in a very bad state by the time they left and didn't have money at all, NDC came and continued. You know, we borrowed money, made sure that the thing was done. That is a fact. We expected that this should be the same thing. For the sake of the Ghanaian, especially if you are coming to do a free senior high, which is a bright idea, prepare for it. If you don't prepare for it and you plunge into it, everybody suffers. And just like we are suffering now. You plunge into it, you don't have money, you don't have infrastructure, you don't have personnel. And now you are going back to look for them. It's never too late. I support the fact that they should go back, infrastructure, prepare enough so that we don't have these challenges we are having today of people going there, you know, single track, double track system, fighting to just be able to sustain a system that you could have introduced later.
Okay, sorry, but our core education minister himself, what if we're able to build even for the secondary school alone, the senior high schools alone, if we're able to build infrastructure to cover what is needed or to cover all the streets,
we are already on. And I'm saying that should have been taken, that decision should have been taken earlier. But once it's not taken earlier and they are coming back to do it, it's good. Let's do it. Let's do the infrastructure so that we can have people in. I've been hearing them talking about the fact that, oh, if they didn't do it, this number of students would have been roaming out. It's a lie. Those students were in private schools. You collapse the private schools when you said free SS, and they all ran into it. And you say, oh, these people would have been roaming. That's not true. So let us use, and I'm happy the private schools have come forward to say that, look, our buildings are free. Come and use them if you want. It doesn't. We are not charging you anything, but for the sake of Ghana, if you go to government school, it's not as if it's bad, but it is something we have to be truthful about. Increasing numbers.
Okay.
But
so Honorable just said that Sankofa is fine.
Nobody is Sankofying anything here. What's the Sankofa in this? And I'm surprised that he says that the assertion that but for the introduction of the multi-track, people would have been, in fact, the entire introduction of the free SHS, people would not have been roamed. The number of students who wrote the exams, the number of students who passed, the number of students who actually went to SHS is there for all to see.
Well, I think his position is that the students that may have applied to the private schools, because have now applied to the government schools, and that has increased the number that is being spoken of, that these people would have been otherwise, but for the free SHS been roaming the
that's
streets.
Inaccurate, because prior to 2017, when the free SHS policies were implemented, private schools were taking students, and even at the time, we're having about 90,000 not getting access or attending SHS for various reasons. Now, in 2017, when the policy was implemented, that number went to school. In 2018, it has doubled. Of course, with the lack of desire to attend private schools, nobody is prepared to pay school fees to private business people who are providing education when they can have it in the public school for free. The enrollment numbers have gone up. And so government has decided to do the multi-track system. You see, I hear that of children go to school would be Ghanaian children that we put in to go to waste.
Well, other people have questioned.
The real impact of this multi-track system is to sweat our infrastructure. That's all. By making sure that we use our classroom where every vacation the classrooms are empty, save this. It's huge. So I think that, and of course, clearly will not people from going to school. So on all scores, Ghana is the winner. Various resources that will go in there, because we as a party in government believes that every Ghanaian child up to turn 18, at least that would afford them with some so that by the 7th year, as the ministry has indicated, we can get out of the multi-track and then with adequate infrastructure to cater for a regular stream for our children.
And as a matter of continuum, it's also important that while the NDC completed the roads, as you mentioned, the NPP have also completed some of the e-blocks as started by the previous administration. 13 e-blocks have come on board, and they would be open in September. 13 of the out of the 200.
Those were what do you call it? Continuous job, work in progress. They were almost about to finish when they came, and they shouldn't stop. But they were withholding their money payments. So thankfully they have paid them and they have finished it. They should do the same to get all of them finished. We are not against senior hire, free senior hire at all. And I'm only saying that we should be very accurate with our statistics. And that's why I'm saying that it wasn't true when they lump everybody together and say if they are there. Some of them were because they had to abandon whatever they were doing. But indeed, it is true also that some people who would have sat at home because they couldn't pay also found themselves there. So the statistics have to be done in a more honest manner than body lumped together and say, you see this number, they would have sat at home. It's not true. That's what I want to say. But again, let me say that finishing the infrastructure is key. It's so embarrassing today, 21st century, when you go to the schools, you see them in a dining hall, hanging on each other, dormitories, and you know, overcrowded schools and things like that. So infrastructure is key, and I will encourage them to continue to put in efforts to get it done. To
Thank you.
A reflection of what the Constitution says, progressively, you know, in accordance with your capacity, your economic capacity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We should read a few messages before we go.
Unfortunately, we didn't get time. I wanted to address this gang of four.
Gang of
5 roads.
Don't give him chance.
Anyway, the message here from Richard Domipelatu says,
what's up, guys?